Yeah, I get it all the time to slide back in here, man. Okay, this little second, man. Doggone jump. Let's see if we get a little better traction and action on the restart. On the restart. These niggas been dragging their feet with these checks. That is aggravating. Yeah, I give y'all a second to roll back in here, man. That junk was just it wasn't cooperating. That's about all I can say. Light good on our side. I guess that's just hey, that's technology for you, man. That is technology for you. I got a scheduled transaction. Let me go look at it over here. I probably get about another minute for everybody to come back around that corner. Then I'm gonna go ahead and okay, there it is. What the day is? Oh, they ain't been two business days. Saturday a business day for the banking. Saturday a business day for the banking. Huh? Saturday a business day for the bank for the banks. I only ask because I know some of them be open. Only ask.
Oh yeah, some of them do be open. I didn't know what you were saying or even talking about.
No, I ask because I don't that junk. When I transfer money from Wells Fargo to Navy Federal, that junk ain't automatic.
Oh no, it depends on if they open, but most banks don't post till Monday anyway.
That's true.
Yeah, even if you do go to the bank.
No, I mean I did a transfer yesterday. I did a transfer yesterday. Word no, I did the transfer, Monte, from the on the apps. I try to take money and slide it in the other account, man. But that junk take 2 days. I guess I'm used to when I had a personal account with Wells Fargo, that junk was instantaneous. But I ain't opening no personal account with Wells Fargo. They can burn in hell before I do that. Yes, sir. It was. It was. That wasn't y'all. That was the that's the internet in here. It chose not to cooperate with us. So what they ain't did, they ain't done enough. No, the money coming from Wells Fargo to Navy Federal. So Wells Fargo got on there 2 business days. I have to keep checking so that junk don't get lost in space. Also, I'm gonna tell you too, because I keep seeing it too. I know y'all know this here, but y'all know they finna start watching your Cash App money, your Venmo money, and your Zelle money. You know what I'm talking about? Y'all boy better make sure, man, if you do business with those doggone apps and somebody finna send you $600 or more, you make sure you keep detailed records, or at the bare minimum, make you a separate Cash App, separate Venmo, strictly for business, and keep them funds separated so you don't have them people knocking at your door because they feel like they ain't been getting their tax money because niggas ducking their cash on the Cash App, Venmo, and Zelle. Which niggas been doing? Because shoot, y'all know what time it is. You know what I'm saying? Somebody send you that junk, they ain't got no 1099 with you. Most people not declaring that income. So be on top of your P's and Q's. Because you ain't necessarily that you're going to go to prison, but you're going to have the hassle of dealing with them people. Job chapter 6. Now, again, he said, what is my strength that I should hope? And of course, that's Koach, your power and your might. But you know what is your strength that you should hope? Trust in Yahuwah forever. For trust in Yahuwah is everlasting strength. That's why you have hope. Daniel. That's why Yahushua said, you believe, that I'm the resurrection and the life. Whosoever believe that shall never taste death. That's your strength. See, a lot of dudes don't really want to talk about. A lot of dudes think they strong by being in numbers. A lot of dudes think they strong because they keep commandments. A lot of dudes think they strong because they just think they strong. But your strength resides in your faith. Because you could be the weakest, smallest man on the earth, and faith of Elohim could smash and destroy anything that comes in your path. These boys don't want to tell you that because they don't believe in you. Daniel 12 and 12. I'm going to tell you like this here, man. Majority of the people you see preach the word don't even believe in you. And when I say believe in him, they don't trust in him. They ain't got no hope in him. They don't seek no expectation from him. Most of these niggas want fame and a name. I can tell you that right now. Y'all see it. You want to act like you don't see it. This ain't about how much wisdom somebody got in this text. This ain't about how nice somebody is with no precepts. You ain't got to be nice with precepts and have strong faith. Your ability to disseminate the word does not delineate how much faith you got. You know what I'm talking about? Most individuals don't believe at all. They don't believe at all. I'm telling you, in due time, you'll see what I'm talking about. Because I can see it. I can see it. In due time, everybody will see it. It'll be laid out before everybody. You're going to be like, dang, I thought cuz had good faith. Some of y'all done seen it on a small scale. You just don't be wanting to believe it. You be knowing these niggas don't believe the word for real. But you don't want to sit back and be like, I'm seeing what I'm seeing. Little rum. Peaches. Yeah, that's just beautiful. Look at that juice. That juice is just like this here. It's outstanding. And a little back in there for you, man. And a little back. 12 and 12, Daniel. Blessed is he that wait and come to the 1,335 days. Only came there just for you to see, blessed is he that wait. There's many places where it tell you to wait on Yahuwah. You understand? There's many, many places that tell you to wait on Yahuwah. Now, we're going to pull this word for wait and see what the Hebrew word is for wait. That's listed right here. I want you to go to Psalms 27 for another witness on waiting on Yahuwah. While I get you this Daniel 12 and 12. Notice that he said, blessed is the man that wait. And dudes will tell you, don't wait. Now, the wait on Yahuwah is kakah, yet again. That is to wait. That is to tarry. Properly adhere. Proper adherence in the midst of your patience on waiting on Yahuwah to fulfill what he said, what he's going to do. Psalms 27. You could pick it up at verse 10. I seen somebody again today. It was a woman. You know, faith without works, and somebody say, post a Bible verse that faith without works is dead. I'm like, man, y'all just gonna be realizing people be taking their man word and tossing stuff out there that ain't got nothing to do with what he talking about. You can pray, but you got to put in that word. Baby, that man ain't talking about that. Because I'm be honest with you when people do that. Because my man's just posted a thread from dudes. Let me see if I can find it. I probably can't find it unless he said something to me on it. Hold on. And he did, because that's my nigga. Now, he shared a thread. And I'm going to show you that this is exactly what people do to Yahuwah. My man shared a thread. Men sharing why they do not open up to women or explain how they feel. It was a question from a woman. She said, why do men shut their partners out when they're going through stuff? It's unfair. That it's unfair should stand out to you. Because in that question, she was making what that man was going through be about her. You know what I'm saying? How is that unfair to you? I'm mentioning this here because this is going to elucidate the lack of compassion and mercy that individuals have, because she made a situation and circumstance be about her. This is what the man responded, because at some point you'll use it against him, whether intentional or not. Because women, you don't know, certain things can't be said. And when said, they can't be taken back. Sorry, just won't cut it. Remember what the book say. The book say, if you think evil, what you supposed to do? Put your hand over your mouth, i.e., keep your mouth closed. The answer to this question is in the tweet itself. She doesn't even have the self-awareness to realize it. The first paragraph, the man has the problem. He's going through stuff. The second line, she made it about herself. It's unfair to you, right? That's why men don't. The next one, because y'all don't tend to understand most times and just seem to make it about you. And that's what individuals do with Yahuwah when they take this man verses. You don't have any understanding and you make verses that are really discussing things in relation to him and making them about you. This is why I'm reading through this here, because that's what came to mind when I was thinking on that was this particular slide. Because that's what people do with that faith without works is dead. That man was talking about a man who had a promise from Elohim about a son and was willing to offer said son to Elohim, knowing that the man who promised him something was going to fulfill that promise no matter what occurred. And that's why he had be able to be called righteous, because he put action together with the promise of Elohim that was made to him, because he understood how faithful and steadfast the individual was who promised. Not because you got a dream of being a wig seller, a real estate mogul, and now you got to put the work in. Get the hell out of here, nigga. You don't even serve the man, so why would he be involved? I see people say, how I get there, it's not my business, it's God's business. That man don't fool with you. Let me finish that. He said, because y'all tend not to understand most times and just make it seem about you. Because I need space to myself. Doesn't mean I don't love a lady or don't have affection. Sometimes that moment of solitude is just needed to garner enough inspiration to get ideas for stuff. Basically, leave me alone while I sort out what it is so I can fix it. Because you don't want to fix it. The next slide about to tell you that. This is what this dude will say. I agree it's not an ideal or healthy pattern. However, the fact that this thought ends with it's unfair means you feel it's something to do to that he's doing to you. But it's not about you. And women need to separate themselves from the situation if you're going to be helpful at all. See, we had this conversation. When most women hear things, they automatically think about it, not with foresight, but insight. And they inject themselves into the matter. They can't necessarily step back and look at it from a full scope, or much less a three-dimensional space. She's going to look at it and like you're doing something to me, or as if this is happening to me. He said the issue isn't men shutting out their partners. The issue is, if I tell you what I'm going through, what would you do to help? Just another, sorry, babe, and a small hug? Because the second I share my deepest fears with you is the second that the mental image you have of me, one of surety, poise, and strength, takes a hit. That my weakness can be aired in a future disagreement or even used to shock me into submission. Because a lot of young women have made it abundantly clear that suffering or financial weakness is not acceptable in a partner. This hurts us both. Then there's the possibility that she has shown an inability to deal with hardship, so telling her won't make a difference. See, these are things. This would be the funny part. I done seen this here. A man could tell a woman that, and she'll tell him he's wrong as a man, as if she's ever been a man a day in her life. He said, before you know it, it will become social media content. When the relationship is over, about I once dated this guy, they reduced his salary at work, and that man didn't stop complaining. And I knew I deserved better. Once she's done with you, your struggles become content. Don't do it. That's ugly. Men open up at the initial stages of the relationship. They get shot down. She turns the conversation about her. Women vent while men talk to find solutions to a problem. When a woman responds to his expressed issues as venting, he will never open up to you. And of course, that's the difference. Because most women will sit in a powwow and complain and no one will offer anything to solve that problem. And men don't usually do that because they're going to tell you, hey, man, if you just want to talk, just to talk, get the hell out my face. See, this is broad generalization because it's highly dependent on the women's critical thinking and objectivity. Men will generally open up when there's a security of knowledgeable feedback, contributions instead of rejection and humiliation. They're supportive women helping out. See, he wanted to sit back and toe the line. Of course, you know, there's women out there who are capable of doing it. That's not the problem. That wasn't the question. The question was why. Now, of course, I read all of them, but I really was going for that one particular one, that you make it be about you. And we have to sit back and say, if we're servants of Yahuwah, that we don't take this man's word and try to make it be about us. I've told y'all that numerous times over the course of years. This word is not about you. It's not about you. And you got to make sure that you toe that fine line, that you don't fall into that trap. Because a lot of brews fall into that trap of making it be about them. It's not about you. It's about the living Elohim. Elohim who dwells in Shamahim and decided that he would lower himself and become a man and suffer and be belittled and disrespected by the very thing that he created in order to redeem them back to him that they might live. You ain't got no business walking around here acting like something about you or reading verses and try to swing them back to you. Because when a woman do it, you deserve it then, nigga, because you the woman, nigga. You the dog. I seen somebody say, yeah, Jesus called the Canaanite woman a dog. Get your funky behind out of here, you dummy. You read that in English. You got dudes who sit back and say, yeah, he called her a four-letter word. He called her a dog. Niggas is dumb. Not looking at where that word came from and what it means. Dudes get mad. You got Bruce. It be funny. You got Bruce to get mad if you look. You trying to tell people language the only way you can be saved. Ain't nobody told you that. But common sense would tell you would want to understand something in the language it was written in. Just so don't nothing, for lack of a better term, pardon the pun, that it don't get lost in the translation. Anybody with common sense know you don't need to master Hebrew in order to be saved. But as we've already seen over the course of time, it's just a few words here, just like this here, right? Just what come back to Job, just like what we're looking at in Job. Let me read this Psalm 27. Let me finish that out. I'm sorry. 27:10. When my father and mother forsake me, then Yahuwah will take me up. Teach me your way, O Yahuwah, and lead me in a plain path. Because of my enemies, deliver me not over unto the will of my enemies. For false witnesses are risen up against me, as such as breathe out cruelty. Unless I had believed to see the goodness of Yahuwah in the land of the living, because that I had fainted, it's not there. That's not there. That's why that's important to look at it. That's not even there. So all it says, unless I believe to see the goodness of Yahuwah in the land of the living. They ain't need to add that, had I fainted in them. That didn't even serve no purpose. And of course, when it had believed, you had a mind. He said, unless I knew that Yahuwah was faithful and confirmed his word, I would have surely in the land of the living. He said, I believed I was going to see the goodness of Yahuwah. That's what I believed. I was sure that I was going to see that faithfulness. That's what he's telling you. And of course, what's coming up before that? Because he said, please don't deliver me over to the will of my enemies. And he did not deliver him over to the will of his enemies, because we've already talked about that. When a man way pleases Yahuwah, even his enemies be at peace with him, because we knew there were false witnesses breathing out cruelty against him. But he did not give them over to his will, because their will was for him to die. But they didn't realize that even though they saw him die, he died not. Cruelty in that verse is violence, wrong, kamas. Verse 14, wait on Yahuwah and be of good courage. He shall strengthen your heart. Wait, I say, on Yahuwah. This man say, if you wait on Yahuwah, he is going to strengthen your heart. Now, wait here is kavah. And again, wait, hope, expect, look eagerly for. These niggas ain't looking eagerly for Yahuwah. He said, be of good courage, which is kazak, which you know is the strength, is to be strong. And then a matz for strengthen, aleph, meme, and sad is to be strong, alert, courageous, brave, secure, determined. Aleph, meme, and sad. We know that the Son is the way of the Ruach. That's why he can be able to strengthen you, because you believe. You can't be strengthened when you don't believe. Where you going to get the strength from? Come on, man. We already know it. Y'all know what Nehemiah say. The joy of Yahuwah is your strength. But where is that joy going to come from? Your faith. Come on back to Job. See, if you have that faith, what we talking about, that's why you could come back right here in this verse. Where was it at? I'm looking right at. And that verse 10, that you would have comfort. Yeah, I harden myself in sorrow. But see, this is my point. You look at harden myself in sorrow, and that's not what's actually being said. It's saying that I find joy in pain. That changes the entire complexity of what is being conveyed. Because if you're looking at harden yourself in sorrow, if you look at that in English, according to English context, you're going to think of that someone who's strengthening themselves in being sad. I'm going to be more sad. But it actually says that I'm finding joy in the midst of pain. That in the midst of that pain, let him not spare. So he's asking to be taken out in the midst of that pain, because you know he said, not my will be done, but your will be done. Not spare is Kamal, to not have any pity or compassion on him. Did the Father have pity and compassion on the man? No, he did not. Because that should take you back to that Proverbs. Chasten your son while there is hope, and spare not for his crime. Did he have compassion on him once he gave up the Ruach? Of course. But in the midst of the chastisement, in the midst of the pain, his father had no pity or compassion upon him. If he would have had pity and compassion on him, then you would still be dead in your sins. Six and 11. Job 6 and 11, that is. What is my strength that I should hope? What is my end that I should prolong my life? Let's look at end. End is Kates, which is the end of time. Kuf, Sod. Well, it's the way of life. Yahushua told you he the way. He told you he was the light. So what is the end? It is a way to life, or the highway of Kadash, if you would. Let's continue. Is my strength the strength of stones, or is my flesh of brass? Is not my help in me, and is my wisdom driven quite from me? To him that is afflicted, pity should be showed from his friend, but he forsake the fear of the Almighty. Now let's look at this here for pity, which of course is a word that we all know, and it's chesed. It is chesed, goodness, faithfulness, kindness. So when you look at pity, you're looking at something that's forfeits someone being kind to you. Kat, Samak, and Dalit. Looking at someone being kind to you. And of course, that takes us back to the 1 Corinthians chapter 12, that to him that is afflicted, he should be shown pity from his friend, which of course, you know, Job's friends didn't do, and neither did Yahushua's friends. That's why he turned around and tell you, you should ought to do that. If an individual is being afflicted, you should have some kindness towards him, which is mercy. When you look at afflicted, it is mas, which is someone who is disconsolate, someone who is fainting, someone who's in a despairing state. Meme and shamak. Let's return to Exodus 34. The next thing that Yahuwah said he was is that he was gracious. He declared that he was gracious, which of course you know is kanun. This is a simple the fact of that this man shows mercy, kindness, and love to individuals. And of course, the last one, and we'll move on, and that's long suffering. And you know that is a rod, and that is patience and being slow to anger. These are the things that he says that that's who he is. That he is a compassionate, gracious, patient, and slow to wrath man. This is why Yahushua said, be merciful even as your Father in heaven is merciful. Be ye perfect as your Father in heaven is perfect. Because this is the attributes of the living Elohim, the Father of all all ruachs and all flesh. This is how he operates. And if you're going to dwell in his tabernacle, that's how you're going to operate, because Salem is his tabernacle and Salem is peace. You can't have peace if you are impatient, quick to wrath, ungracious, unmerciful, lacking compassion, and lacking pity individual. It's not going to compute in that place. You're not going to be able to dwell there. You're going to defile that house. And we already know he said nothing that defiles or worketh abomination will enter into that city. Back to Psalm 78, I believe. We only just need to do that because that's who we need to become every single solitary day. That's why he said that you ought to have forbearing one another, forgiving one another. This is why Paul wrote these things in his letters. This is why Mashiach told you to, because this is who Yahuwah is. How you say you are Elohim, you ain't got no mercy. This is what I told you this before. There's a reason, right? Yahuwah merciful, period. But then you have to understand that he became a man and understood your suffering so he could be even more merciful towards you. Huh? Remember what he said in Hebrews? What that is, Hebrews 2? Come over here to Hebrews 2 and 16. You could pick it up at verse 14. Look at what Paul wrote, or whoever wrote Hebrews. You know, they say Paul, but no, they don't really know. It don't really matter. It line up with the book regardless. Hebrews 2 and 14. For as much then as the sons are partakers of flesh and blood, he also himself likewise took part of the same, that through death he might destroy him that had power over death, that is the devil, and deliver them who through fear of death, who were all their lifetime subject to bondage. He truly took not on him the nature of Malachim, but took on him the seed of Abraham. Wherefore in all things it behooved him to be made like unto his brethren, that he might be a merciful and faithful high priest in things to Elohim, to make reconciliation for the sins of the people. He desired to be a man and suffer so that he could be faithful and merciful to you. Because the high priest serves who? He does the things pertaining to Elohim to make reconciliation for the people. We did talk about that on atonement. The high priest's job is to serve the people. And he said it behooved him. He desired vehemently to be a man so that he could be merciful to you. Then that shouldn't even be no shock, considering that when he proclaimed his name to Moses, the first thing that he said he was merciful. That's the first thing he said. The first proclamation of who he was is that he was merciful. And it's amazing to me how individuals just don't take that into account, that Yahuwah is a merciful Elohim. And that there are repeated instances of this man exerting infinite amounts of mercy to individuals who did not deserve it. The first place, you sit back and look at it, he showed mercy off top to Adam and Eve. Adam disobeyed a direct order directly from him. Not from a conduit, from him. And he had mercy on him. He could have killed Adam and started all over again. You know what I'm talking about? And he said, instead, I give you a coat of skins versus them fig leaves that you done did. I give you a linen tunic. I'll give you the garments of righteousness. And you just can't dwell in my kingdom anymore, in my dominion and rule, because now you've become a man, and flesh and blood can't inherit the kingdom of Elohim. That's the first place where you see the instance of what Paul talking about, because you should already know that, because he told you that that Jerusalem would be as the Garden of Eden. You can't inherit this, because now, if you know this here, you eat from the tree of life, you're gonna live forever, and wickedness is amongst you. You're disagreeable. You know what sin is. That means you could rebel in this place. I got to kick you out of here. That was mercy in and of itself. When Abel killed his brother, Yahuwah showed mercy to him. He could have killed him. He said, this is too much for me to bear, and gave him caveat so nobody would do nothing to him. We don't pay attention to none of that. We don't pay attention to none of that. You know what I'm talking about? But hey, man, What do we know? What do we know? Back to Psalm 78. I'll read verse 38 again. But he, being full of compassion, forgave their iniquity, destroyed them not. Yea, many times he turned his anger away and did not stir up all his wrath. For he remembered that they were but flesh, a wind that passed away and come not again. That's what it was, how that's worded. Yeah, he know that. I don't know why I was thinking that doggone pity was up in there. I know what I was thinking about. I know exactly what I was thinking about. And it's the verse before that. Come to Psalms 103. I know exactly what that was. That's what threw me off. Y'all forgive me for that. Psalms 103. You can pick it up at verse 6. Sure, you can make it 1. You know, we're going through the book of Psalms anyway. We got 150 of them. So some days, you know, we have to double, triple, maybe quadruple them up. We can't go one by one all the time with these here, or we'll be on Psalms till 2025. Blessed be Yahuwah, O my soul, and all that is within me. Bless his Kadash name. Bless Yahuwah, O my soul, and forget not all his benefits. Now we're going to pause, and we're going to look at benefits. Benefits is gamul, recompense, benefit, service, or requital, reward. Gamal, mean, lamad. Well, you know that the messenger is the shepherd, has secured you life. That is your benefit. That is your reward. Don't forget it. You get the benefit of the Ruach HaKodesh, or the comforter, which I shall send in my name. That the Abba shall send in my name, shall bring to remembrance all things that I said unto you. That's what he told you. Let's continue. Who forgive all your iniquities and heal all your diseases, who redeem your life from destruction and crown you with loving kindness and tender mercies. Look at what he come off with and say what he crowned you with. Chesed and Rakam. Rakam is compassion. Chesed is kindness and goodness. That's what he say he crowned you with. That's why you get a crown of life. That crown of life is contained with the mercy and loving kindness of Elohim. You know what I'm talking about? You know, they tell you soft and you weak if you merciful and kind. That's what they tell you. They tell you mercy for the weak. Not even knowing juxtaposing, they blaspheming. Because Yahuwah said he merciful off top. So they just said he was weak. That's why, but also when you look in the text, he was made weak that he might be strong. That's why the book say those that are weak, let them say that they are strong. That's what he say. He was crucified in weakness, but raised in power. See, they don't like that talk because these dudes want to feel like they got to be extra tough. If you a man, you a man. That junk got to shoot. You ain't gonna come with all that extra tough guy stuff. I've been around dudes who were tough, who were killers. They didn't have to let it be known. Some did. Most of these brutes soft as drugstore cotton, man, wet as doggone wet toilet tissue. But let's continue. Who satisfy your mouth with good things so that your youth is renewed like the eagles? Look at what he tell you now. Now he's satisfying your mouth with good things. Now you're renewed. You Kadash, you've been repaired. In your youth. Well, what is your youth that he has renewed? Does anybody know the youth that he has renewed? Youth is your early life. Noor, noon, ayin, Raj. You can sit back and take that quickly that you know that life is in the highest. And if you know life is in the highest, how has he made you new in your youth? Renewed you, satisfying your mouth with good things so that your youth is renewed like the eagles. And that one there is Nashur, Noon, Shan, and Rosh. You're paired to the life of the highest. Did any of y'all got any idea how your life is renewed or your youth is renewed like the eagles? Don't get caught up on the eagles. Don't get caught up on the eagle part, because that's going to throw you. If you focus on that eagle part, that's going to throw you. Y'all let me know what you got now. If you got something for what you got, when you got it. They say Lizzo out here clapping her booty cheeks again. Y'all don't look at it and lose your lunch now. That junk be funny because in that little peep group, they be arguing about Lizzo a lot. Pure and undefiled, possibly. You own the track, but you own the wrong train. That's about as close as I can give it without giving away the answer before somebody else roll the dice. But you definitely own the track. Romans 12:2. Hold on. I'll read it out loud for you, young sir. 12:2. Be not conformed to this world, but be you transformed by the renewing of your mind, that you might prove that is that good and acceptable and perfect will of Elohim. The only part you left out of that civic is you got to reconcile youth. What is your youth? What is your youth? That's the part that got to be reconciled. Y'all got something for me? It's okay if you don't. I ain't gonna be mad at you. So we have 37 minutes. I give you another minute to mull that over. I'm just dropping the first part in its applicable places, so I ain't got to double up. We'll take it as the acting up as if the police tried to run up in a trap, and we had to run and try to hide all the work. But they came in and searched the spot, but they couldn't find the work. Because Yahuwah keep his word hidden from those who ain't supposed to have it. Y'all got 20 seconds. So when you look at him satisfying your mouth with good things, of course, you know, from Isaiah 59:21, he'll put his word in your seed and your seed. But when you're looking at your youth being renewed like the eagle, or you being made new, it should have took you to Adam. Because that is your youth. That is your early life. And you had to be repaired because Adam fell from his state, if you would. And he had to be repaired and made new, or the second Adam, a new Adam. Psalms 103:5. Yahuwah execute righteousness and judgment for all that are oppressed. He made known his ways unto Moses, his acts unto the sons of Yasharal. Yahuwah is merciful, gracious, slow to anger, and plenteous in mercy. I want you to keep in mind in that verse that he had to let you know twice that he was great in mercy. Not only did he let you know that he was merciful, and you thought correctly, young man, and you thought correctly. Notice what he said, right? Merciful, gracious, slow to anger, which is what he led with in Exodus 34. And then he lets you know he got great mercy. When you know that somebody has great mercy, it makes it much, much easier, to serve them and respect them. This is why one of the times that you see people who can have a strong ally out of an enemy. Because when somebody catches an enemy and they took the enemy out and they spare their enemy, that enemy ends up becoming the closest ally of the individual who spared them. Because of the level, and you can see this throughout annals of history. Does that happen every? There's nothing 100% but with Yahuwah. You understand that? But just remember, he told you were his enemy, and he's not appointed you unto wrath, but unto life from Yahushua HaMashiach. So you were his enemy, and then he extends some great mercy unto you. You're supposed to be his greatest ally. He will not always chide. Chide translates into strive, contend. Neither will he keep anger forever. He have not dealt with us after our sins, nor rewarded us according to our iniquities. See, I just want y'all to know before we even get to the house, you have to understand that Salem is peace. So before we can even get into a place where he dwells, you have to deal with all the things that are going to bring about peace. And in order to bring about peace, there has to be an elimination to what brings chaos, and that is sin. Can't have a city that ain't got peace. Well, you got sin, you ain't got peace. We already know that from Isaiah. He have not, we're in verse 11. For as the Shamahim is high above the earth, so is great is his mercy towards them that fear him. As far as the east is from the west, so have he far removed our transgressions from us. Like a father pity his son, so has Yahuwah pitied them that fear him. And we already know how he pitied his son. What is pity? Again, it's rakam. And look at this one here. Same word, different definition. Rosh Kat mean. So you know that you have been separated by the blood of the highest. And it means to love deeply, to have mercy, to be compassionate, to have tender affection, to have compassion. Notice it said to love deeply. Now let's sit back and look at it. He said the Father loved the Son. That's what he said. That's why he was able to have pity on his son, because he loves him deeply. Why does he love him deeply? Because he does those things that pleases him. So the same way that the Father has pity on his son, Yahuwah is going to have pity on you because the Son feared the Father. That just made me think, there's a video on the Jesus for True Freedom a long time ago. It was a text message when it was first concocted, and then we put it on tape. The fear of Yahuwah as a father to a son, the reverence that a son is supposed to have for his father. This is what I would tell y'all the other day, like, your son's supposed to have reverence and respect for you without fear of being struck. So what do I mean by that? If the only way your son has reverence for you or that type of respect or fear is because he think he gonna be beaten, struck, or hit, that boy don't respect you. He doesn't respect you. He's scared of you, but he doesn't respect you. Because he should be able to have reverence and fear just from a look or the tone of your voice that he ought to follow your instructions. I ain't talking about yelling. I ain't talking about spazzing. I'm talking about understanding and hearing the authority in your voice and knowing that I must get myself in line and respect the authority because it is now being yielded. See, you have times where Yahuwah spoke peacefully and gently to individuals and they did not listen. But when he wielded his authority, they seen clearly and plainly that I ought to get in line. Now, of course, you have times where you have to go to that furthest mile and bust their head dead wide open. But that means they've overstepped their bounds greatly or violated in a fashion where corporal punishment is the only recompense in this matter. But you have to sit back and look at that. Is your son scared of you or does he revere you? Because there is a difference. There is a difference. And when he reveres you, that means he respects your counsel. He respects your instruction. He respects your guidance. And therefore, he will be inclined to always seek to do the things that pleases you. And if you don't even know the things that pleases you, then there's no way that you could impart that unto your son to where he would serve you with delight. Because that boy supposed to serve you till you get him a wife. See, we sit there and we talk about that junk about the daughter serving in the house, but your son's supposed to serve you till you get him a wife. Because he supposed to, that's where he learns his training on serving a man who's greater than him because he's serving his father. That's where he get the training at. But you got to have something to get him. I told you that before. We got to make sure our wisdom up, our knowledge up, our understanding up. I ain't talking about just a worldly things. You know what I'm talking about? We talking about of the standard of Elohim. Because I can tell you right now, to each and every one of you brothers on here, whether I know you or not, I will put money that your sons look up to you. 99.9% of the time want to model themselves after you. So you have to look at every single solitary thing that you're doing and ask yourself, do you want your son to really emulate that? Some of you may not be aware that. I was aware at an early age that little muffin looked up to me and sought to emulate me. That means I had to take responsibility for what I did in her presence. Sometimes even sitting back looking at it, taking responsibility for what I do when she's not present. Because this person wants to be like you. And if you recognize that a child wants to be like you, then you have to sit back and say that it's no longer about me doing A, B, C, D, E, F, G if this is going to be detrimental to this child who is seeking to be like me. See, you looking at Yahuwah, you looking at Mashiach, you looking at Yahushua, and you saying you want to be like him. Well, if you want to be like him, that means you have a level of respect for him. And if you have a level of respect for him, you're going to follow his guidelines. And it shouldn't take him threatening you with violence to get you to do it. Nevertheless, let's continue. He say, for he know our frame. He remembered that we are dust. As for man, his days are grass, and as the flower of the field, so he flourish. For the wind passed over it, and it is gone, and the place thereof shall know it no more. The mercy of Yahuwah is from everlasting to everlasting, upon them that fear him, and his righteousness unto his sons, to keep such as keep his covenant, and to those remember to do his commandments, to do them. Yahuwah prepared his throne in Shamahim, Psalms 110, and his kingdom rule over all. And we've already had this conversation. Blessed be Yahuwah, you his Malakim, that excel in strength, that do his commandments, hearken unto the voice of his word. That takes you to Revelation 19. We say, I'm of your brethren, the prophets, and one of your fellow servants, and of your brethren, worship Elohim. Baruch you Yahuwah, all you his hosts, you minister of his, those that do his pleasure. Baruch Yahuwah, all his works in all places of his dominion. Baruch Yahuwah, O my soul. You know, pleasure is kafaz. You know, again, y'all know that's one of the most difficult things for individuals to do, and that's to put serving someone else before you. Now, pleasure here, excuse me, it's not that. It is a rat song, my apologies, which still means pleasure. Still means pleasure. Let's come back over here to Psalm 78. You know what I'm saying? But it'd be crazy, man, because we've been failed from generation to generation. It ain't just start either. All the internet done is magnified what's been going on for, what is it, 2021? 70 years, 80 years. Niggas act like illegitimate children just started happening in the last 20 years. It's been going. Some of y'all grandmas and granddaddies were pure D-hoes. Niggas want to act like your granddaddy was the only one, had families all over the place. Your grandma had children from a lot of niggas. And they just didn't, and you just didn't know it because ain't nobody talk about it. Some of y'all sisters, some of your brothers and sisters, you thought they was your cousins. Whole time that was your brother and sister because your mama was a whore. You know what I'm talking about? Daddy was a junkie. Come on, man. Niggas sit back and laugh at Harlem Nights, and that was set in the 20s and 30s, and it wasn't nothing but pure debauchery going on. You know what I'm talking about? Pure debauchery. That's all that was going on. They talk about how Harlem was. That was debauchery going on back then, man. Yeah, we were married a lot, but niggas was evil. And they like to tell the story that the man was evil. Both of them was evil. So I sit back and act like women were the vanguards of righteousness while men were being evil at the same time. That's just folly. That don't make sense. We both evil. It ain't just start. See, the problem is who gonna stop it? Who gonna do? See, this is where it come down to. This is where it come down to this here. If one person is being evil and you not being evil, why are you staying there? Just go. You know what I'm saying? That's it. Don't sit back and complain about this woman evil, this woman wicked, and she continually staying like that. Just go. If this man is evil, can't lead you nowhere, don't care nothing about you, this, that, and the third, then just go. Because if two people are not going to sit down and say, we're going to come down to an amicable solution that we may be able to coexist in peace, having concern, care for one for another, then what's the point of even trying? Just go. See, that's what niggas don't want to do. They want to get on the internet, complain about this, complain about, I'm talking about brews first and foremost, that complain about what the Hebrew woman ain't doing and what the Hebrew man ain't doing and all this, that, and the third, when you could just go. I told y'all the other day, if we serve Yahuwah, then you should be leading with love in your house. And leading with love is leading with mercy. It's going to be leading with graciousness. It's going to be leading with long suffering. We're going to be slow to anger. We're going to have pity and compassion on each other. We're going to forgive one another. And we're going to seek to have understanding that neither party is feeling slighted, especially for the man, because the man supposed to be loving the woman as Mashiach loved his wife. And if this man loved his wife with mercy and compassion and said he had great mercy, then that's something that we have to consider. It's just something that has to be considered. Because if the great mercy comes in, she should have respect. But we've already had this conversation before. If you don't respect your spouse, just go. I've never seen in my entire life anybody who was re-respected after respect was gone. I'm not saying that it can't happen, because with Yahuwah, all things are possible. But if you don't respect a nigga, why are you there? If you got a woman you don't respect, how do you even get an erection with that? How does that even happen? Because for a man to not respect a woman, that means that this woman has to be a very low caliber. I mean, she has to be participating in just deplorable acts. Scallywagged out. Yes, what would we do for you? What do you desire? What? You do know, because you clearly came out here looking for something, and then you didn't see it and you stopped in your tracks. So you know precisely what it is that you desire. Now, whether you can verbalize what you desire is another question. So what would we do for you? Huh? You don't know, or you just don't know how to say it? You just don't know. So what are you going to do now? Huh? You're tired, aren't you? So what would be the best remedy for you? What?
Lay down.
So what's the problem?
I want to lay down.
What?
I want to lay down.
You want to lay down? Then what's stopping you from doing so? Because you're not laying down. Probably if you want to lay down, the best thing to you do is to lay down. Do you know how to do that?
Yes.
Then proceed. Psalm 78. I don't even know why I stopped that. I'm sorry. Verse 39. For he remembered they were but flesh, and a wind that passed away and come not again. How oft did they provoke him in the wilderness and grieve him in the desert? Yea, they turned back and tempted Elohim and limited the Kadash one of Yasharal. I think we talked about that limited again already. And that again was to wound, to cause pain. That was to vow. Limited is not, because we look at limited and you looking at, oh, they limited his power. And no, they brought him pain. You can see that in Mark. You can see that in Luke 19, Mark 3 to be specific, when he was grieved with anger because of the hardness of their hearts that brought pain to him. You know what I'm talking about? See, that's the same pain that a parent should have if their child doesn't follow their instructions. You see the entitlement. You see the rudeness. That should bring pain to your heart. And this generation, how we've been raised, it don't bring pain. That's the same thing you see in Genesis chapter 6 when it said he repented it. That brought pain to his heart, that he was going to have to destroy that which he loved, which is that which he created. He didn't create man to destroy it. But it pained him because his mercy hadn't ran out. That's why you used to hear people say, this is going to hurt me more than it hurt you. Because no parent should have, if you find a pleasure in striking your children, something is wrong with you. You know what I'm talking about? There's people who find pleasure in whooping their children. That should not be a pleasurable event for you, because that means that they have moved you to such a pain point that you have no choice but to bring physical chastisement upon them. That shouldn't bring you delight. How do we know that? Because he said he doesn't delight in the death of him that died, but repent, turn you and live. You don't delight in that. I know some of y'all done heard some people say this going to hurt me more than it hurt you, because that brings sadness to the point that I got to do this to you for you to be able to save your life, because you don't listen. Because even though they might be out of pocket, you have to sit back and understand that the tears that they crying is because of the pain that you had to inflict, and you were only inflicting that pain because they pained your heart, because they would not follow. You think Yahuwah delighted in sending down doggone vipers to attack his offspring? You think he delighted in that? You think that make him feel good? I'm telling you, you have to assess yourself. More people hit their churn out of frustration because they don't have the emotional maturity and emotional constraint to not execute wrath on their children when they upset. Because most kids get struck and beaten for things that don't even require for them to be hit. You know what I'm talking about? You have to sit back and look at that, because I'm telling you this from the standpoint of Yahuwah. You notice that he said, what is it? He's long-suffering. That means he's patient. He's slow to anger. He's not quick to wrath. So that means that we need to begin to emulate that, because if you can do it with your offspring, you can do it with adults. And if you don't have offspring and an adult does something to offend you, and the first thing you want to do is get angry and fly off the handle, you have a mental and spiritual problem. There's something wrong with you. Because you're not willing to extend to man what you want Yahuwah to extend to you. This doesn't mean that this is an issue for everybody, but it's an issue that all of us must make sure that we are consistently and constantly out ahead of as a manifestation of our own faith. Because anger is a destructive emotion, if you would. It's a destructive work of the flesh, because it can lead to a multitude of different things when you're angry. And I told a brother that he was angry. I said, you being emotional. He automatically used to think that being emotional had something to do with being crying or this, that, and the third. But anger is an emotion, and anger can lead to violence. An extreme amount of violence. Because that emotion is the emotion that attacks men more often than not. And because men have superior strength and force contained in their bodies, that's why these niggas be killing each other out here in this city like that. It's anger. That's something that we have to get a hold of. If we say we the sons of Elohim, we have to be slow to that, because he is. Nevertheless. Verse 42, they remembered not his hand, nor the day when he delivered them from the enemy, how he worked his signs in Mizraim and his wonders in the field of Zoan, how he turned rivers into blood, and their floods that they could not drink. He sent divers sort of flies among them, which devoured them, and frogs, which destroyed them. He gave also their increase unto the caterpillar, and their labor unto the locust. He destroyed their vines with hail, and their sycamore trees with frost. He gave up their cattle also to the hail, and their flocks to hot thunderbolts. He cast upon them the fierceness of his anger, wrath and indignation, and trouble by sending evil Malachim. He made a way to his anger, and he spared not their soul from death, but gave their life over to pestilence. And you know why he did that? Because they oppressed his offspring and worshiped other gods. You can't do wrong who Yahuwah love. Yahuwah gonna come see you. He smote all the firstborn of Mizraim, the chief of the strength of the tabernacles of Ham. But he made his own people to go forth like sheep and guided them in the wilderness like a flock. He led them on safely so that they feared not, but the sea overwhelmed their enemies. He brought them to the border of his sanctuary, even to this mountain which his right hand had purchased. And again, that's taking us back to what we read in Exodus 15. And it's taking us back to Psalm 76. Salem being the tabernacle, Zion being the dwelling place. Now, when we look, of course, sanctuary is Kadash. He brought them into the sacredness of set apartness. And then, of course, in the place which he had purchased, his fourth mountain is Har, which is, of course, Hay and Rosh. Behold the highest. And Kanah, which is, of course, to buy or to acquire and possess. And he possessed the Mount Zion with his own blood. And Yamin for the right side or right hand. Let's continue because I want to wrap up some of this stuff and then knock it out, y'all willing, on tomorrow. So at least we'd be at the bottom of this. He cast out the heathen also before them, divided them in inheritance by line, and made the tribes of Yasharal to dwell in their tents. They tempted and provoked the Most High Elohim and kept not his testimonies. Turned back and dealt unfaithfully like their fathers. They were turned aside like a deceitful bow. They provoked him to anger with their high places and moved him to jealousy with their graven images. When Elohim heard, he was wroth and greatly abhorred Yasharal, so that he forsook the tabernacle of Shiloh, the tent which he had placed among men. Y'all know that Shiloh was in the northern kingdom. That was the place of rest. That was the place of city in Ephraim, where the tabernacle was in the beginning. So the sun being the place of rest, he forsook it. See, we're going to come back. We're going to look at that. We're going to go back and look at the few places where Shiloh is mentioned. We're going to sit back and look at how Yahuwah forsook his place of rest to put it in the city of peace. Just bear with me. Delivered his strength into captivity and his esteem into his enemies' hands. He gave his people over also unto the sword and was wroth with his inheritance. The fire consumed their young men, and their maidens were not given to marriage. Almost unfortunately, in a parallel in these times, of course, fire. It's literal fire, or sit back and looking at Elohim's anger. Ish. That's what we're seeing right now. That our sons, our young men, are given over to Elohim's anger, and our women ain't even being married. And that's halal when it's sit back for give it into marriage. And that's not the word for marriage. If you don't know, halal is to praise, to boast, to be boastful, to be made praiseworthy. That means our women are not even worthy to be married. That the maidens are not even found praiseworthy or honorable enough to be married. That's a sad state of affairs, because that's what we're seeing. And of course, maidens translates to virgin. I didn't want you to sit back and think about that the women are not even worthy to be married. And sadly, I'm not saying that verse is prophesying to this very time, but sadly, we're seeing that right now. That the young men are being consumed by the wrath of Elohim, and the women ain't even being made wise because they're not worthy of it. That's a sad state of affairs. That should make your soul cry. That should bring pain to your heart to know that your people is in this state. He said, the Lord awaked as one out of his sleep, like a mighty man that shout by reason of wine. He smote his enemies in the hinder parts to put them to a perpetual reproach. He refused the tabernacle of Joseph and chose not the tribe of Ephraim, but chose the tribe of Yehudah, the Mount Zion, which he loved. He built his sanctuary like a high palaces, like the earth, which was established forever. He chose David also his servant, and took him from the sheepfolds. From following Uz great with young, he brought him to feed Jacob his people and Yasharal his inheritance. So he fed them according to the integrity of his heart and guided them by the skillfulness of his hands. Now, Yahuwah willing, we're going to come back on tomorrow. And from about verse probably 54, we're going to make it do what it do. But most definitely from him forsaking Shiloh. It's at least from verse 60. To tie all of that into Mashiach and things of that sort. But it's after 11. So we'll say hallelujah for Yahushua in the word. Most of the stuff we didn't go refer back to because it's a building about the wilderness, and I'm going to give y'all the benefit of the doubt that you are aware of that information. And if you're not, then just let that be known, and we can reference some of those points in order for you not to be clueless. At any time, if any of you on this stream, of course, y'all should know that in person, that you find yourself not knowing or understand or not knowing a specific reference, I would highly recommend and encourage that you let that be known. Don't sit there and be like, I don't know what this is referring to, and then be lost in the sauce in that regard. That doesn't make any sense. I would rather you not do that. I would rather just say, I don't know what that means. I don't know what this is referring to. Where does this go back to? It's not a big deal to go back and look at that so that you can be informed. Because remember, these things were written for our learning, and you can't learn what you don't know. And I can't know if you don't know it, if you don't say that you don't know it. It's not that big of a deal. It's really not. So I bless y'all at the house of Elohim in the name of Yahushua. I appreciate y'all time this evening. Can remember to stand firm and just keep the maintain component, because we still got to get to the glistering stones, the woods of timber, and all of those things. But we need to understand of what the tabernacle and the dwelling and the mountain of Elohim is about. And honestly, it's just about mercy, graciousness, and long suffering. If you can master having mercy, grace, and slowness to anger and patience, then you will master the Ruach of Elohim, because you would have understood and encapsulated everything that he is. Because that's everything that Yahuwah is. And you've seen that in Psalms 103, referencing what was in Exodus 34. You see it no matter where you go in the text. You see it no matter where you go. But I would like to say, because somebody did mention this here, and I'll share this with you. And somebody thinking that Judas may get in. And I can tell you right now, without elucidating much book, that Judas going to hell. And as a matter of fact, I'll put it to you this way. Which one of you brothers on here know what songs? Because y'all should know it. We ain't read it in a while. But which one of you brothers on here know what song lets you know that Judas is done? You got about 3, but it's one in particular. You got about 3, but it's one in particular. Can anybody let me know what is that one particular song that lets you know that Judas is a done deal? Do any of you know that particular song that lets you know that Judas is a done deal? My man, dead on the head, 109. See, look at this one here, what he tell you right here in Psalm 109, verse 6. He says, set a wicked man over him, let Satan stand at his right hand, and when he shall be judged, let him be condemned. That's rough. Let his days be few, and another take his office. That's why he's not an apostle anymore. Let there be none to extend mercy unto him. Let his posterity be cut off. Let his name be blotted out. Let the iniquities of his fathers be remembered with Yahuwah, and let not the sin of his mother be blotted out. Let them be before Yahuwah continually, that he may cut off their remembrance from the earth. And why did that happen? Because he remembered not to show mercy, because he persecuted the poor and needy man, that he might even slay the broken in heart. That's why he's going to hell. That's why Yahushua said it was better for that man that he had never been born. That's ugly. That's just not my personal opinion, or like, that's just ugly. That just lets you know that no matter what you do, it's consequences for your actions, and you don't get to dictate what those consequences are. See, that's why it's good. Look at what he said, right? Because you forgot to show mercy to the poor. To the poor and needy man. Well, I'm glad that you let me know that, Miss Wright. We appreciate that, the fact that you knew that exactly, and the restraint to hold your answer to yourself. I appreciate that. I'm like this here, man. Yeah, that's outstanding. Yeah, man, that's rough, man. That's rough, man. And the key component of why did that happen? Because he did not extend mercy, and because he loved cursing. Let me just share with y'all some of these words in here of what this nigga had going on, man. When he said he loved cursing, so he said, let cursing come unto him. That boy said, Cap. Cursing here is vilification. Kalal. So he said, since you like to vilify, he said, let that come unto you because you don't like to baraka. You don't like to bless. You don't like to come with a treaty of peace. He says, since you clothe yourself with cursing, as with a garment, let it come into his bowels like water and oil into his bones. That's why his guts fell out. Let this be the reward of my adversaries, of those that speak evil unto my soul. You want to persecute the poor and needy man? Well, what is persecution? Radah, which is to pursue, to persecute, to run after, and to chase, which is exactly what he did, the poor and needy man. And I mean, it's not a bad question. I'm just sharing it with you because, hey, sometimes stuff need to be known. This is somebody who's been humbled or afflicted. When we were just sitting back looking at the afflicted, that the afflicted should have pity shown unto them. And of course, needy is Ebion. This is someone who is subject to oppression and abuse and needs deliverance. And he sought not to deliver that man. He didn't remember to show mercy. He sought to slay him that is broken in heart. And we know that a humble and contrite heart is acceptable to Elohim. That a broken heart is a sacrifice to Elohim. And he sought to put that man to death. Someone who was sad to be disheartened. We already read that in Job. But we could come back and hit Psalms 109 with it, man. Like I say, it's a good question. We could delve into it, look at Judas, and look at the places of what the text say, what is going to happen to him. Because I can tell you like this here. If Yahuwah gave you a job and he took your job from you, boy, you done. That's that part when he say, hey, I take your candlestick and take it up out of its place. Well, that's a wrap. That's a wrap. But nevertheless, you know, he was born for that cause. But it's I like good questions, man, because it calls us to delve off into the text. And when you go off to delving off into the text, you get understanding on how we should operate. And the key component of what we're looking at is that we should always make sure that we extend mercy, especially mercy to those who need deliverance or subject to abuse from the unrighteous towards the righteous. But bless y'all at the house of Elohim in the name of Yahushua. I appreciate y'all time. Love y'all. You who are willing, we'll pick it up on tomorrow and make it do what it do. And until that time.